It's time for AggroChat, the official podcast of the Tales of the Aggronaut blog and stalwart gaming community, where we talk about stuff and things, and the stuff about the things, and sometimes gaming. I'm Belgast, and let's start the show. Hey folks, it's that time again, time for another episode of AggroChat. This is episode 237. Tonight I'm joined by Ashgar.
Hello.
Kodra.
Hi.
Tam.
Hello.
And Thalen.
Hello.
Like, I every time I do that intro, like, it's so rote at this point, but, like, I also have flashbacks of Sunday.
That's the voice when the like time or two I've hosted this show. That's the voice I'm going for whenever I say that.
Yeah, it's like it's way more excited than I ever am. So yeah, this week I think most of us have played the Anthem Demo and have things to say about it.
The Anthem Demo?
Attempting to play the Anthem Demo is a key phrase here. So they've had some issues, like lots of issues, and I have been shocked at how universal the issues are, because generally when they do one of these open betas, demos, whatever you want to call it, like, I think the demo word is probably good, but all platforms have been having trouble. It's not just, PC as it usually is. It's also Xbox One and PlayStation 4, and there seems to be no rhyme or reason as to who's affected. I think most people, the biggest one for me at least, is the 95% load bar freeze.
That is the only issue people have been describing that I haven't run into.
Really?
Yeah.
What issues are you running into, Ash?
Coming back from missions without XP, or freezing in cutscenes, or it's been weird.
Yeah, no, like, for me, it has always been the 95% freeze. And usually what happens... What?
Like, what I have played, I've liked.
What I've played, I think I like. It's doing a bunch of interesting things. There are some things I like a lot, and there are some things I like less. But I think the total package is good.
Yeah, I lucked out and was able to basically just load in, watch the first few cutscenes, go into the first mission without too much trouble, and then I started having trouble after the first mission. But for me, like, being able to just seamlessly, like, go in and play that first mission was huge, because it was like, all right, I'll buy this game. Any weird, like, hiccups in terms of, like, network stability or whatever else, like, I don't have any doubts that those are going to be gone within the first few days of launch. But I love the core gameplay.
The first launch or the second launch?
I mean, however you want to define it.
I mean, so there's a bunch of stuff that it's doing that I think are really cool. Like, first of all, I wasn't 100% sure whether or not this would feel like I was running around in armor or if I was running around in a mech suit. And it very much feels like I'm running around in a mech suit, which is good.
Yeah.
Because I think that's the player fantasy that I was interested in.
The Vanguard feels very Iron Man.
The Ranger?
The Ranger, I mean, yeah.
Yeah. Ranger's my favorite so far, but I've only played 2 of the suits. Colossus did not feel great to me at all. Mostly because, like, it felt way more sluggish than I wanted it to feel, and the really powerful weapons that you get have, like, a ramp-up time. So, like, one of them is basically like a chain gun autocannon, but there's a spinning up time, and it seems excessively long. And you can mow stuff down really well once it starts, but, like, if you are doing a hold the point type things, the critters get uncomfortably close. I also was missing, like, a bunch of the things that I had just come to expect from the Ranger, like the grenades and stuff like that. And the shield mechanic was a little weird to get used to, because you have no overshield. You just have a physical shield that you can throw out every so often. But the biggest problem with the physical shield is it was either I am soaking damage or I am dealing damage. And firing causes you to basically throw away your shield, and then there's a timer on resummoning the shield. So I guess the mechanic is get a bunch of hate and then pop your shield and tank the hate while everybody else burns stuff down.
Yeah, it definitely seemed to want to be like a tank class.
Right. So the only complaint that I really have, other than connection issues, is like the gunplay does not feel as tight as, say, a Destiny. The gunplay is like it's adequate, but it's probably the worst part of the gameplay.
I had two different experiences with this, one of which was good and one of which was not good. It seemed to involve lag.
Yeah, I had the exact same thing where I've had a few missions where I'm like, man, the gunplay feels really floaty and bad. And then like, oh no, I'm not lagging or rubber banding or anything. Wow, this gunplay feels really good.
I mean, I can consistently headshot stuff, and that feels cool.
I think there is more than a small amount of auto aim on this thing.
Yeah, which is really weird for a PC mouse-based game to have auto aim like that.
Yeah, that is a little interesting.
So I'll be totally honest. You mentioned mouse based. Like I am normally the last person to plug a controller into my PC for any reason. I'm going to be playing this game entirely with a controller.
I don't want to, though. Like, I know that's the answer to, okay, I have one key problem other than that. Like, the gunplay. Like, my problem is with a mouse.
Sensitivity of the flying controls.
Yeah, if you're gonna say I don't like the flight controls with a mouse and keyboard, I'm gonna say yes. It feels great with a controller.
Swimming is worse.
Okay.
Yes, I agree with both of those things you just said.
Yeah,
swimming
is horrible. Like, I died in a mission just because I could not get my character pointed in the right way while I was in an underground tunnel sequence where like it was dark. Do you remember those areas in Guild Wars 2 in one of the fractals where you're like you're swimming from lantern to lantern? There was an area like that in one of the, for lack of a better term, it's this game's version of a strike. And it felt horrible. Like I straight up ran out of oxygen, because that's a thing that can happen. And somebody had to come back and res me, and then I finally got it pointed down in the right direction. But in the last couple sessions I managed to get it dialed in to a point where it felt okay. And essentially I am playing on 30% sensitivity on both of those mouse controls. And like 30%, there's two different mouse controls that control like your flight and your swimming, and they're both dialed down to about 30% movement.
For me, it was, man, there are some weird buttons. Like, just, there's a bunch of weird button mapping that's going on the keyboard. Plus, the flight controls feel super janky.
They do.
On the mouse. And the second I plugged in a controller and tried it, I was like, oh, this feels great. Like, movement just feels good now. The only thing I don't like is that I have a lot of stick clicking I have to do, and I hate stick clicking.
Yes.
For me, like, on the ground, I think the mouse and keyboard controls are mostly fine. I think they are entirely too sensitive while flying, and learning that pressing forward makes you go into like super boost was a really important thing to learn.
Yeah.
But also I felt like I couldn't fly for very long, and then I learned that you don't have to press that button.
Yeah, you don't have to hold forward while flying.
I never learned that lesson. I've been doing dives to... So one of the things you can do in this game is, like, as you're overheating, if you dive really fast, it will cool you back down.
Yeah.
And then you can fly again. But, like, apparently I've been boosting the entire time.
Yep. Yeah, that was my learning.
And I feel like, I mean, this does... The demo was like, hey, look, there's no tutorial. Just throwing that out there. And so, like, all right, sure.
I have to say, the idea that I should be playing with a controller kind of does make some intuitive amount of sense, because I've been sitting here being like, okay, I kind of like double jump and then engage my thrusters, and then I try and like zip around, or I don't want to move. Flight with a mouse and keyboard feels so bad. I haven't actually had to swim.
It's not good. Swimming is worse. Like, swimming is without a doubt the worst part of that demo.
Yeah, swimming doesn't feel good.
Your powers, your grenade and your rocket feel pretty
Oh, they
great.
feel great. Yeah. And
Yeah.
you have a lot of interesting options for those slots.
So
the
this was
lightning gun instead of the rocket, and that was amazing.
So this was the thing you were mentioning the Colossus. So I unlocked the Storm, and you may recall some of my complaints about Warframe, about Destiny, that I want to play a wizard. Like, I want to play a space wizard. I don't want to play a dude with guns who sometimes throws a grenade that's kind of like a magic spell, or like has some abilities that I use between shooting guns. And Ash pointed out that there is apparently one Warframe that feels this way, but like the vast majority of the ones I played don't feel this way. I play Storm, and I have guns as secondary tools. Mostly I am using my abilities, and it feels awesome. Like, I'm blasting people with icicles, I'm blowing people up with fire. I'm a space wizard.
Well, from what I've seen, like playing with other wizards in like I don't know what they call them, but it's their equivalent of a strike. They also seem to be like, they remind me of I don't remember the name of the class. It was like Control Wizard or something of the sort from City Heroes.
Oh,
they were like locking things down.
Yeah, I've got a bunch of control abilities. I map my control abilities to the fact that I can hover basically infinitely, and I'm incentivized to hover as much as I can because my shield gets way bigger and stronger when I'm hovering. And so just like the experience of playing the Storm suit is so much different from the Ranger in a great way. At least for me, it was just like this is a totally different approach to the game. Like, I look at the space I'm fighting in differently. I approach combat with enemies differently. Like, it's exactly what I really wanted out of the three different Destiny classes, where like fundamentally the way I play the game is different from class to class.
Whereas I can continue to play Ranger and play shooty mans with occasional abilities, which is the thing I like to do.
Yeah, and I love that they preserve that while also branching way out. I totally understand now why they give you the Ranger, why they gave you the Ranger as the default.
Well, I know one of my comments that I said at one point was, I think this is going to be the game that allows us to glue together those of us who really like Warframe and those of us who really like Destiny.
I think so too.
Because, like, it's got some of all of it. Like, while I don't think the gunplay is anywhere near as polished as Destiny, it's not bad. Like, the thing that this game is giving me that Destiny doesn't give me is a lot of really interesting things to fight.
Yeah.
Because for the most part, other than raids or strikes, like Destiny enemy types are things that you see over and over and over again. And I've already seen so many interesting mob types that I've fought in just the couple days of attempting to play this game.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think in the three missions, I've seen more different enemy types than I've seen in Destiny.
Well, it's true. Like, they're all baseline plus this, baseline plus that. Whereas, oh no, these are vastly different kinds of things. Like,
I punched a rhino, and the rhino is like, really?
I mean, Warframe also is. These are mostly humanoid.
Yep.
Yeah. Do you like Grenier? You're going to see a lot of Grenier. I've managed to get through the story, and I've managed to do a couple of, there's one strike that's available, and I've done it a couple times, and then I've done a bunch of what they call free play, which is patrol. And that's fun as hell, because, like, world quests are actually really good, and they're interesting.
Yeah, this game gives me, Anthem gives me the thing that I never got from patrols in Destiny, which is it's fun to fly. It's fun to move around. Like, just moving around, just traversal is fun. Flying around is fun. Dashing around is fun. Flying, hovering, moving around the battlefield and moving from battlefield to battlefield. Like, all of those are fun.
I mean, if I could trade the rocket boots for Titan Jump, I would be ecstatic. But past that, I can fly. So I guess that makes up for that fact.
You can totally airdrop on people.
Yeah, that's entertaining as hell. So what's funny is like I appreciate that you don't take damage for banging into things because how crappy the mouse control for flight has been. I have hit the side of cliffs so many times.
You boost the side of the cliff, you are suddenly not flying anymore.
Yeah, but you can start flying right again. The world is really interesting, and like we've only seen like a little bit of it. But it so one of the things that I liked about the Dreadnought in Destiny was that there were so many things going on in the same place. So like at face value, it looked like a relatively simple area, but like there were hidden paths and things that if you knew where to look, you could get down into the bowels of the ship and stuff like that. Whereas everything that I've seen so far in Anthem has like lots of different areas to explore within the same space. So like it may look like, oh, this is just a big open field, but like there may be an underground pathway that leads you down to a Shaper ruin, or if you go through the water, like somehow there's like a cave underneath the water. And that's especially noticeable when you're just like on free play in an area.
Yeah, I was wandering around in free play, and I don't even remember how I got, but I like pause after finishing fighting, and I'm like, where am I? I'm in like this crazy underground city. How did I get here?
Oh, was it an underground city full of the not Covenant people? Look, I mean, come on. They're yeah.
Probably.
I don't know what they're called. They're the Scar or the Scree or the Skanks or I don't know. The S word, not Covenant.
Don't really even remind me of Covenant.
So the part that reminds me of Covenant is like they're the same race, but there's like 3 distinct sizes of them. There's like little bitty ones that are like the stupid things that roam around and, you know, pop shots at you. And then there's the trooper type, and then there's the big hulking brute version.
I also the other thing that super stood out to me was like, and Ash was mentioning this before, where you can swap out your like powers, and those make a big difference. Like I went from I shoot icicle or I shoot a big fire blast to I call lightning bolts down.
That's really cool. So does the actual frame change that much?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Like the actual frames change dramatically, and then the like.
What's going on with the base frame? Like, what's its thing that you start with?
It's kind of a jack of all trades.
Yeah.
Its claim to fame is it can like put down this rally aura of sorts that kind of buffs other people that stand in it.
Did I not get that?
It's mapped to Z initially.
Oh, Z. Interesting.
It's your ult.
Yes.
Or no, it's not your ult.
Not your ult.
No, it's your
Yeah,
ult.
I thought my ult was X, which is a bunch of missiles.
Yeah.
Right. And it does damage.
Unique.
It does damage based on the number of targets that you've marked. So like if you only mark one target, that one target is going to get all of your missiles. If you mark a bunch of targets, it's going to spread that damage out amongst all of those targets.
But it really can't really just delete a target.
Yeah.
Even a boss target.
It feels really good. You're just like, hey, buddy.
Yeah.
Here's all the missiles.
Anime missiles for days.
Oh, it's amazing.
Also, really importantly, your ult fully restores your shield and heals you. For
Yeah,
as far as I can
of
tell,
them
all
do
classes.
Yeah,
The-
all of them do that.
The like the ranger frame that you start with seems to be kind of good at everything, and its big claim to fame is it can put a giant bubble shield down, or it can put a giant like guns deal more damage aura down.
Right. It's kind of the Defender Titan from Destiny 1, where like you had either Weapons of Light or Dawn of Light, I think was the healing one. But yeah, like it's basically the jack of all trades.
Neat.
Colossus is in theory supposed to be your slow but tanky heavy weapons user.
Seems like everything they have blows up.
Yeah, everything blows up. Their ult is basically siege tank mode from StarCraft 2, where like your weapon gets even more ludicrously big, and you have a short period of time just to blow shit up with it. They also have a shield. They do not have overshield. They do not get a recharging shield. They have a physical shield.
But does that also mean they have a significantly larger amount of health.
They have way more health than anyone else does, but they have a physical shield that has damage associated with it. And once it's been destroyed, it's on a cooldown. But I did not understand that at first, because anything that you do to lower the shield also puts it on cooldown, which greatly reduces the usefulness, as far as I'm concerned. Because, like, if I could use a shield and duck in and out of it and fight, then it would feel okay. But the fact that I can throw up the shield and just be blocking, or I can do attacks and have to wait for the next cooldown on the shield, doesn't feel great. But it's also, it gets heavy weapon types, which are like the autocannon, and I think there's some kind of a rocket launcher.
I picked up some grenade launchers in the demo that I couldn't use because it didn't have Colossus unlocked.
Yeah. Far as I can tell, the Interceptor, or whatever it's called, is basically Zero from Borderlands.
Yeah.
Like, except it's actually useful.
It's like crazy ninja mode.
Yeah. You are super fast, like you want to be. It looks like you want to be in melee. You're like a rogue. Be fast, stab people, spin around.
And all of them kind of have an element that they excel at. Like, so Interceptor is poison. Colossus is blast damage. I assume Storm is cold damage.
Storm is basically, did you want all of the damages?
Okay.
It's got fire, it's got ice, it's got electricity, and its ult is all three of these things at once.
Yeah, you cast Faraga, Blizzaga, and Thundaga. I don't really get it. I fired it off at a group of enemies and I pressed the button and I was like, all right, I guess I'm pressing the button a few times, and a billion giant elemental explosions happen. I was like, well, I guess all those guys are dead.
So there's a thing going on that I've not quite fully figured out yet, but certain attacks debuff targets, and if anyone else hits that target while it's debuffed, it deals a lot more damage. So I know your field effects as a Storm all basically apply that debuff mechanic. So
this is why the ult is completely dumb, because it applies and then consumes the debuff 3 times.
Oh, well. Oh, yeah, that's the other thing that the Ranger does, is its melee primes people, whereas other melees tend to consume it. So you can.
But I know there's some crazy mechanics that I've seen where, like, a Storm will field an entire area, and then someone with an AoE will just blow the shit out of them.
Mass 3 had this as one of its really important systems in multiplayer, in that you had primers and detonators.
Yeah.
And it seems to have just been made slightly more universal here, because it used to be only tech abilities can prime these things, and only tech abilities can blow up. Only tech abilities can blow up tech abilities, and only biotic abilities can blow up biotic abilities. But here it appears to be a little more general, maybe just because everything's a tech ability.
I'm curious, Ashkar, are you playing with a mouse and keyboard or with a controller?
I'm playing with mouse and keyboard.
Okay. Were you able to fiddle with your things such that it made flight make sense?
Once I learned that I didn't have to be boosting everywhere, flight made sense to me.
Okay.
And like I said, I mean, it really helped me to lower these sensitivities.
Mm.
And it is helpful that they give you, like, movement sensitivities, flying sensitivities, and swimming sensitivities, so you can tweak all of them,
which is really good.
I don't know if we... Oh, go ahead.
They all just, like, feel really different, like, to me. Flight and swimming are similar, but, like, one feels twitchier than the other. What were you going to say, Kodra?
I was going to say, I don't know if we've mentioned this, but since I had so many bugs, my most time in this game was spent wandering around the hub.
Which is really unfortunate that so much is locked off for the demo.
Well, not just
more than that.
The hub feels terrible.
And it feels tiny, for starters.
I mean, like, so in gameplay, you have this big giant robot suit, and you can jump, and you can fly, and you can go almost wherever you want. And in the hub, you are stuck in first person, so that's already not going to be a positive for me. You can't really move very quickly. You can't
even jump.
So, like, the entire experience of being in the hub is unpleasant compared to gameplay.
Yeah. I like some of the characters, though. I mean, I like Zoe.
I do like that BioWare can apparently still write characters.
Yeah. I played through the 3 missions that comprise what feels like a side quest. And honestly, like it told me a coherent story that I enjoyed with characters that I liked, and I frankly I laughed quite a few times because it's having fun. Those characters are funny. Like if the rest of the storytelling in the game is up to that bar, I'm extremely excited. Like I don't know if it will be. We've seen a tiny little fraction of it. And if you showed me, just if you just showed me just the story missions in Warframe or whatever, I would have said the same thing. So we'll see how much there is. Like my experience with games in this style is that they're not super good at telling me stories, but we'll see what happens with this one. It definitely like sets the stage for a world I'm interested in.
There's a lot of interesting things going on in this setting. I feel like I don't necessarily know any more than I knew going into Destiny yet, but I have a feeling all of those things that looks like I can interact with, but I can't actually interact with because the demo are going to fill in details.
I was a little amused, but I got a prompt that said, hey, add this thing to your codex, and then you add it to your codex and it goes, nope, not the demo.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, okay, the other thing that cracks me up is like one of the intro messages says all vanity items are only 25 currency during the demo, and then you go try and interact with the vanity shop and you can't interact with the vanity shop because
they're in your
demo.
Forge.
Okay.
They're in your Forge. You can unlock them by going to the unlock tab.
Okay.
This includes things like the dust off landing animation for Ranger, which is kind of funny.
One of the things that I think is going to be really cool is the fact that it looks like we can swap out individual pieces of armor cosmetically.
Yep.
So, like, we're not all going to look exactly the same?
I don't know. I'd guess that there's this particular red and yellow color scheme that's going to be real common. I'm just saying.
I love that you can swap individual materials, too. So, like, if you want your...
That was nonsense. Like, I started poking at that cosmetic options, and that was complete nonsense.
Yeah, it's cool, but...
It's super cool.
So
it took me a bit to...
You've got, like, a material, you've got a color, and you've got a finish.
Yeah.
I mean, I mostly kept all the materials the same, and I painted my character like I paint pretty much every character. It's, like, black mostly, but green and
black.
red. Yeah. Yeah, pretty much. Like green and black with red accents. I don't know. I'm excited. I did pony up for a month of Origin Access, so
did you do this before buying the game proper?
Yes, so that I could get a discount.
Yeah,
but
that actually works out cheaper if you're going to buy the fancy version of the game.
Right.
But like, I guess those with Origin Access are going to get in on the 15th
for 10 hours.
I mean, that's fine. That'll get you somewhere. I don't know if, in all of the trying, I don't know if I've played 10 hours yet.
Wait, is it 10 hours, like, contiguously, or...?
No, a 10-hour timer that ticks down while you're in game.
Oh.
Okay, so this bit me in the ass with Andromeda. Make sure
the game actually exits.
Right, that's a problem that Origin games have. So yeah, open up Task Manager, make sure it is not running in memory, because otherwise all your time will tick down.
Origin is
a piece of shit. I'm not going to mince words. Origin is a piece of shit. EA, you're horrible.
It's better than it used to be, but it's still not good.
Not good. I mean, I care about this because BioWare is still attached to EA, but like, if I did not care about BioWare, I don't think there'd be a reason to ever have Origin on my machine.
Let's see, I have Origin because it was required for Mass 3, and then Dragon Age Inquisition. So, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I still have only BioWare games and Darkspore, and Darkspore got discontinued, and you can't even download it anymore.
Yeah, I have BioWare games.
I think I have one of the Command & Conquers because it was free.
Oh, no, I have Dead Space 3 because I got that for free from something.
I mean, like, this is not me just being elitist about Steam, because I'm perfectly fine with the Epic Games Launcher. I'm perfectly fine with the good old Games Launcher. They don't annoy me.
Uplay.
Uplay is perfectly fine too. Like, I don't know, it doesn't bother me. Like, Origin just annoys me for some reason because it has a proclivity for having games that crash regularly. So the other, okay, this is just a complaint of mine about games in general. I hate that you cannot configure Anthem until you're actually logged in.
Agreed.
That shit drives
Strongly
me insane.
agree.
Put a gear on the first page, something that lets you configure it.
So what's weird is
Better. Let me configure it before I even have to get into the game proper.
Yes.
there's a weird thing going on with that, because recently when I loaded in, when it gives you the like press A or press enter to resume, there was also a press R, or I think it was R, for settings, which let me configure the game. And I don't remember seeing that, but I did see it today. On the other hand, there's a whole bunch of settings that it doesn't inherit until you start loading in, like your volume settings.
Oh.
And so because of my computer's setup, I tend to run most games at about 30% volume, just because that tends to be about where it audio balances with everything else I want my computer to be doing. But it means that I get blasted out by Anthem until about a third of the way into the first load screen into the hub, and then it like calms down to something more reasonable. But man, do I hate that splash screen.
I hate whatever HDR effect they're using, because it has a bad habit of bleeding over to the rest of Windows whenever I'm alt-tabbed out of it.
Weird.
Yeah. So, like, all of Windows will be HDR colored.
That's weird.
The other complaint that I have is that, I mean, I know, Ash, you got around this, and I'm going to upgrade DX3 and see if I can do that too, but, like, nothing else that I usually take screenshots with would work other than Ansel. And, like, there's no way to do Ansel smoothly, since it kicks you off into another screen that you have to, like, fiddle with some widgets and take a screenshot. So hopefully whatever that is will be resolved, given that we're playing a fairly old build right now.
We'll see, I guess.
I mean, like, can confirm at this stage of a game's development, 6 weeks of effort makes crazy differences. But
so, I mean, like, mixed in with the complaints, I have to say, BioWare has been doing a good job this weekend of communicating with the community.
oh yeah,
I mean, like, they've been super chatty on Twitter and Reddit and pretty much anywhere where groups of their fans pool. So, yeah, it's been a rough weekend. Like, it has not been a smooth demo period. But the fact that they're talking is helping. Like, if they were maintaining radio silence, there would be a lot more rioting in the streets. Now it seems to be like people are like, well, it's a fun game if I could ever play it.
yeah, and like people, they're on like every social media, like Reddit, Twitter, Facebook, Discord.
Well, and they did like an official blog post today from like the live services manager.
Yeah,
So they score a lot of points for that with me. And it honestly like makes me more willing to set through a rough launch if they haven't gotten everything ironed out than if they had tried to be pretty quiet about this experience.
you can also tell just in looking at like the various commentary and so on, you can tell that they're really excited about this. Like they're genuinely really frustrated that people can't experience it because they're really excited about it.
It is a shame that it's having such a rocky demo. Because yeah, like this is not a great look, and hopefully the next demo will, I don't know, I'm not sure if I think it's code or if I think it's infrastructure at this point, but they need to figure it out.
I mean, it's not, I don't feel like it's any different from, games are immensely complicated things, and a lot of, and releasing it live to people is not trivial. Like, it's been done, but at a certain scale, like nobody actually gets it right the first time. And like it just like nobody does, and all of the fixes that go in after the first like disastrous, public facing thing are unique to that game. So it's like, oh, why didn't they learn from this other launch, or why didn't they learn from this? It's like, well, because every game is different, and nobody has built a bunch of unified systems that are reliable. Like, you can't you can't just like install a module from some that you've purchased to make your stuff work online.
But you can try.
Yeah, and you'll get the same problem. Like, I don't know. I remember at one point looking at the okay, how much more would we have to put in here to be 100% certain that it will run perfectly fine for everybody? And the answer was, not only can we not do that, the cost to even attempt it is prohibitive.
I mean, I think it's infrastructure, honestly, because if it was specific code, it would be less likely to be affecting all 3 platforms like it is right now.
Mm.
Like, these issues are universal to everyone. Like, I've talked to people on Xbox One that are encountering the same 95% freeze, folks on PS4 that have encountered it. So, I mean, that would lead me towards infrastructure.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I'm definitely curious enough to see how this game works out, because, like legitimately, if I could have a game like Destiny that we all seem to like, instead of having a split pretty evenly between multiple games, then yeah, that would be kind of cool.
I agree with this Reddit poster that was like, playing Storm was honestly some of the best gameplay I've ever experienced.
I wish they would let us play all the classes in the demo.
I also wish this.
I agree.
I don't like changes having to make a decision that you can't remake, even if it is just for the duration of a demo for 2 weekends.
Yeah, because as it stands right now, I may like the Interceptor as my secondary. I liked Excalibur a lot in Warframe.
The Interceptor seems a lot like Ash from Warframe, honestly, except with more trickiness, but also a lot of murder.
More spinning and winning.
I mean, then Warframe? No. Not until they nerf Naming Strike.
Fair.
So, another thing that came out this week is Ravnica Allegiance.
Ooh.
Have you continued to do drafts?
I'm doing so many drafts of Ravnica Allegiance. I love the Simic. They are probably my favorite guild, and they are here, and they are awesome.
I like Simic just fine. I have my general problem with blue, but I mean Simic is pretty great.
Yeah,
I love the adapt mechanic. Simic feels like green, not like blue.
Yes, I like Simic for that reason.
I like Simic creatures. Adapt is really cool. You can pay mana and give them +1/+1 counters once, and that so they start off as a 3/3. They become a 5/5. But you can do it at instant speed. There's a lot of trickery you can do with it.
It's like the old Monstrous mechanic.
Yeah.
Except
Monstrous with sorcery speed.
Was it?
Pretty sure.
I think my favorite guild in this batch is probably Orzhov, and I really like their mechanic.
I was going to say, I don't even know what Orzhov's mechanic is this time around.
Orzhov's mechanic is everyone's a Doom Traveler.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, wow.
So I don't remember what it's called, but
Afterlife.
Basically Afterlife. Okay, so Afterlife and a number, and when that creature dies, it creates a 1/1 flying spirit for every increment of that number. So if it's Afterlife 2, you get 2. Afterlife 3, you get 3. There's a lot of really cheap creatures that are ground based that have Afterlife on them, and you can totally hit trade and end up in a situation where, oh, now I'm just going to start pinging you with flyers. It's kind of great. I love it. I really want to do a spirits deck around Orzhov. It'd have to be a modern spirits deck, but yeah, like to use all of the things that power up spirits with Afterlife spirits.
Yeah, I feel like there's already an modern spirits deck, and I don't think any of the Afterlife stuff is good enough for it, unfortunately.
I mean, M19 got a spirit commander at least, so that's in standard.
Yo.
I didn't think commander product went into standard.
No, it's M19, not Commander 19.
The limited environment on it has been really, really interesting. It's pretty... it's kind of fast. There's enough ways to break board stalls. Nothing ever really feels like it bogs down. There's a lot of removal in this set, though.
Yeah.
Oh boy, you can play. You can possibly overload yourself on removal a bit. It's quite nice and high value cards. So I'm enjoying it for that.
What you're saying is there's removal and then also things you need to remove.
Well, yeah, but like some of the stuff is just like, oh, when this enters the battlefield, you discard a card and I get 3 life, and I'm also a 3/4. So I'm like gonna be a 2-for-1 in that case, unless you don't have cards in hand when I get cast.
I feel Rakdos is really interesting with Spectacle.
Ooh, Spectacle is awesome, and there's enough cool Spectacle enablers. Like,
Yeah,
so
there's a lot of plinkers.
Spectacle is some cool thing happens, or there's a alternative cost to this card if an opponent has taken damage this turn. And so
like, the alternate costing is significant. Like, there's one card I'm thinking of that's like 3 colorless less, and it becomes like goes from a 5 mana to a 2 mana if you got Spectacle.
Yeah.
I know there was some card when I was looking at the preview that got more expensive if you got Spectacle. It also did like dramatically better things.
Yes. So like Rafter Demon is an example. He's 2 black-red for a 4/2, or for Spectacle 3 black-red. So he actually costs more, but if Spectacle was paid, each opponent discards a card. Just again, like I mentioned, creatures that come into the board that discard a card are almost always going to be 2-for-1s. You're always trading a card for a 4/2. Even if it might be a bad card, but you're still trading a card. Somehow I'm going to grind out some value off of you.
I know this is ridiculously expensive, but Captive Audience is an amazing card.
Which one's that?
Captive Audience enters the battlefield under the control of an opponent of your choice. At the beginning of your upkeep, choose one that hasn't been chosen yet. Your life total becomes 4. Discard your hand. Each opponent creates 5 2/2 black zombie creature tokens. None of those are good.
No.
I mean, it costs 7. It's red, black 5, but...
So what you're saying is I need to find the commander deck that this goes in.
Yes, you do. Because it is just not fun. It's a bunch of horrible gifts.
But I already have a deck that gives gifts. That deck, very wisely, does not have black in it, so it cannot give the really bad gifts.
I feel like Skargan Hellkite is just going to keep going up in price.
Which one's that?
It is 2 red, 3. It's a Gruul card, so it's got Riot, where you get either a +1/+1 counter or haste. Flying 4/4, and for 3 red, it deals 2 damage divided as you choose among 2 targets, or 1 or 2 targets. So basically just nukes.
Yeah, that guy's awesome. We really haven't talked enough about Riot. Riot is awesome, and there's an enchantment that gives all of your creatures cannot be countered and Riot.
Yes.
And that's an uncommon, so it frequently shows up in your pools. Did you know Riot stacks?
No, I didn't know that.
Yes,
Yeah.
if you have that, and it natively has Riot as well, you get 2 choices on that table. And the answer is probably going to be haste and a counter at the same time.
Or, if you have 2 of those enchantments and a creature that has Riot...
You get haste and 2 enchantments. 2 tokens.
I'm just saying, there have been games where it's like, I'm not quite there yet, but I'm getting closer to like I need to start main decking enchantment removal, because there's enough enchantments that really matter in this format. Probably the most annoying is Ill-Gotten Fortune.
Yes.
Ill-Gotten Fortune is a card that is a lot more annoying when you're playing paper Magic than when you're playing Arena Magic, because at the beginning of each round, at the beginning of each of your upkeep, it deals 1 damage to your opponent and you gain 1 life. So it's very fiddly with bookkeeping.
Right.
But eventually it's going to kill you, and in a format with as much removal wandering around as this, that has won me so many games.
Ill-gotten inheritance. Got it.
Oh, and
Yeah.
ill-gotten inheritance. Sorry.
In one of my games, I managed to get 2 of them on the board, and it was just like it was a slow bleed at that point. Like I kept plinking my health back up, and they kept taking 2 every round.
And then eventually you just have 6 mana and they're at 4 life, and you're like, all right, I guess this game is over now. Because you can pay 6, sacrifice it, and drain them for 4.
This is like the most Orzhov card ever.
Well, there's like a white card that's something as well. That's pretty nasty. It's I forget the name of it. It's got the card art of the dude spitting out gold coins.
Smothering Tide.
Yeah, there you go.
Whenever an opponent draws a card, that player may pay 2 colorless. If the player doesn't, you create a colorless treasure token with sacrifice this artifact, add 1 mana of any color.
So like it would be an Ixalan card.
Do you want to pay 2, or do you want to give your opponent like a mana
Of any color.
Yeah.
Yes, give me the mana. Accelerate me into something better.
Yeah, this is also a very Orzhov card.
It's a very Orzhov theme going on. I love the theming of all of these things. And also, slowly but surely, all of the guilds are being usurped.
I have no clue what the fun police mechanic is.
The Azorius?
Yeah, the
It's
worst
addendum.
guild.
Azorius has a whole bunch of instant speed spells that are just beautiful fun police spells. But if they cast them on their main phase, they get an additional benefit. So if they cast them as sorceries, they get an extra bonus. So, like, there's one that's 3 mana, 2 blue, instant draw 3 cards. But if you cast it during your main phase, you get to scry 3 and then draw 3 cards. Which is really nice.
You are correct, and that most of these are also very fun police spells.
Oh, they're great.
No, they're the worst.
Target creature gets +2/+2 until end of turn. Return target creature to its owner's hand. Target creature gets -4/-0 until end of turn.
The return creature to owner's hand with the addendum of draw a card is awesome. Also, I love that their mechanic is called addendum.
Also, we got another rat colony out of this. Persistent petitioners.
At least this one's funny.
It's hilarious. Will you sign my petition? Will you sign my petition? Will you sign my petition?
Really, this is like another Shadowborn Apostle.
So, yeah, so the thing is like, if you have 1 on the board, you can play 1 and tap, and target player puts the top card of their library in their graveyard. However, if you have 4 on the board, you can tap 4 of them to mill off, 12 at a time?
12 cards.
Yeah, it's nonsense.
Would you like to sign my petition?
This could have been a 1/1, but it's a 1/3.
Yeah, like, that's the great thing about this card, too, is, like, it's actually a decent blocker. Like, it's not a horrible blocker to have out early, and it's, like, 1 in a blue.
It's 1 in a blue. A deck can have any number of cards named Persistent Petitioners.
If I had more commons, I might build a Persistent Petitioners deck on MTG Arena, just because it's hilarious. Like, I don't like blue, but I've always liked the concept of mill as an alternate win condition.
I feel like the only mill decks I've seen that I think are at all reasonable are the ones that can mill you up like very large numbers at once.
Well, so what it was, Helm of Command was the one that I used to use back in the day for milling, and it was X and tap, and you basically mill until you hit a creature, and then you take control of that creature, killing your fun. What you really wanted was to go up against somebody with like a spell deck, so like Burn.
Helm of Obedience.
Helm of Obedience, yeah, there you go. Yeah, and it was great because like it was the mill fireball until you hit a creature.
There was some blue-black commander that looked like it could actually be a mill commander, and this is I mean this in every way. I mean, it looked like it could mill through an entire commander deck. Sadly, I don't remember what it was at the present time.
I linked a thing in chat throughout the week of somebody playing a Persistent Petitioners deck.
Is it just Persistent Petitioners?
That's all it was. Just that and land. And They get down to the final phase. They have successfully milled the other player, and I forgot which ability they used, but they basically used something to kill themselves. It was something that was like deal 2 life, draw a card, deal 2 life, draw a card, and they committed suicide rather than allowing themselves to be milled out. They set a stop on the final phase of that turn.
Found the card. Fenix God of Deception lets all of your creatures tap to mill for their toughness.
Ah. So, another card that came out that doesn't really seem to belong to anyone, though, is Wilderness Reclamation. And this card...
The name makes it sound like a Gruul card.
I believe it is a Gruul card, but why Gruul needs this much mana, I'm not quite sure.
Because
it feels more
the red
like
green has some really big creatures.
Yeah, but it doesn't help with that. This is
True,
more of a
doesn't.
Simic card. But this card, I feel like, was kind of designed for Commander to try and make a fair version of a mechanic that is good for Commander, but maybe is a little bit too powerful.
You mean like the, what is it? Or Prophet of Krufix that got banned in Commander?
Yes, exactly like that. So during your instep, you get to untap all of your lands, which this is very cool. And I saw this and I was like, oh, I kind of want to build a deck in Standard with this. And it turns out I was not the only one. This card breaks wide open a already kind of sketchy deck idea in the form of this really ramps Nexus of Fate decks.
Nexus of Fate is dumb.
Nexus of Fate is
Everything about this card is dumb.
5 mana,
7 mana.
blue, 7 mana, 5 blue, instant speed, take another turn, when Nexus of Fate enters the graveyard, shuffle it back into your deck. 7 mana for a take a turn is typically not considered good, but at instant speed, it turns out that's a really relevant sub-theme, and the fact that it recycles itself is also kind of brutal.
So, yeah, anytime you've got it in your hand, you basically get your second turn from this card, the enchantment.
If you get 7 mana. Yeah.
Which is to say, if you get to 4 mana.
Which is to say, if you get to 4 mana, you go to your instep, tap all of your lands on your instep while this trigger is on the stack. It untaps all of them, you tap them all back, and now you have 8 mana with which to cast Nexus of Fate, and then take another turn. Like, this was already a real deck that was really scary. It's very scary now. I kind of hope that this card doesn't get banned. I would like to see them ban Nexus of
Fate, please.
Yes, I want them to ban Nexus of Fate, because I also think that this deck has... I think there is a deck here for a big X-Spells Teamer deck. With Electro Dominance and Expansion Explosion as your big payoffs.
Well, and pretty much anything Izzet really just cares about instants, doesn't it?
Izzet has a whole bunch of instants that it cares about, but Explosion is already a really strong card, and getting to tap all of your lands, untap, retap all of your lands is gonna be powerful. Also, I suspect that we're going to have a whole bunch of 3-color decks now that all of the shock lands are in Standard. And when I say shock lands are, first off, they are true dual lands in the form that they are going to be like a 2 basic land types. So it's going to be like a plains and a forest. They come into play tap unless you pay 2 life, in which case they don't come into play tapped. And that's, like, being able to have that kind of quality of dual lands, I think is going to really push a lot of 3-color decks.
It's a little funny that these have only been printed in Ravnica, even though they've been printed without Ravnica theme names.
It's true, but they are still only in Ravnica. Better get them now, because this might be the end of the plane of Ravnica.
I think it also serves the important point of, like, pushing the price down.
Yes, because it also means it's been a while since we've had them.
I mean, what they need to reprint now is the fetches. to bring those down in price.
So we need to go back to Zendikar, is it?
Are those
I
from
think that's
cons? The most recent time they showed up anyway? Weren't they from
Huh.
cons?
Wonder when those were originally from.
an old set. I don't remember the name of it, but
I thought they were originally from original Zendikar. Oh no, they're from Onslaught.
Onslaught. Yeah.
Whoa.
That's a while ago.
They're also from there. So the enemy colors are from Zendikar.
Okay.
I mean, the Onslaught style is better than the previous Mirage style.
Don't.
Because
Oh,
like
yeah.
the Onslaught let you put the land in untapped, I think,
Yeah.
and the
You
Mirage
just had to pay
specifically
a lot.
said put it in tapped.
Yes.
I really like this Ravnica block in general.
I do too. It's a shame that Bolus. It's a shame what Bolus is gonna do to the place. You got a nice plane there. Be a shame if something happened to it.
I mean, they said they were killing off the Gatewatch before, and
No,
it
I
didn't
think-
happen.
I think this is going to be when Bolus dies. But it is interesting that we have, let's see, Orzhov. Orzhov, is it not Demir somehow?
Not Demir, not Selesnya somehow.
Azorius,
Gruul.
Gruul. There's a lot of planeswalkers on Ravnica. I mean, technically Golgari, but
I don't know if that's really a thing.
I'm not sure what's going on there. She's kind of an usurper.
Planeswalker is in charge, and she's kind of an usurper, and she's kind of working for Bolus, but not really. Who knows?
I mean, seems like she's kind of working with Jace.
I mean, can we just kill Jace? Like she's a Gorgon. Can
I don't
she
think
just turn him to stone?
She seems to have a thing for him.
she
somehow.
seems to have
Damn
a
it.
thing for Jace.
God, that makes me like her way less.
Oh, you didn't know that? Yeah, that's the whole story.
No, I didn't
is,
know
like,
that.
They fell in love on Ixalan and then planeswalked here.
Oh man, you could have been so cool, Vraska. Why you got to be like that? I hate Jace. I mean, that's the
You
should be
and
obvious at this
lots and lots and lots of other people.
I mean, so here's the thing about Magic Arena. When you come up against someone who's using Jace as an avatar, like, the likelihood that they're going to spam hello or good game or something like that is much higher.
I'm so sad that every time there's something that I think is cool aesthetically, it is also co-opted by assholes. Because I think Jace is aesthetically super neat, but also, apparently, is the purview of dicks.
I don't know. I like Jace.
I do not like Jace, but this is really just an extension of me not liking the Gatewatch.
Haha.
It's time for the second Gatewatch to take over, kind of like Guild Wars 2.
I mean,
Got a big giant lion dude.
you can tell how long their name has been around because Gatewatch comes from, the gates of Ravnica. That's why they're the Gatewatch. And Jace is the Eternal Guild Pact.
I don't know about Eternal.
Or the Living Guild Pact. That's right. That's his name.
I mean, I mostly just view Jace as an arguably worse Urza.
Although, as far as the...
Man,
Wow.
you hate Urza too?
No, I like Urza. I like Mishra better, but I like Urza.
Of course you like Mishra better.
I feel like if I ever went to a Magic the Gathering GP, I would need a shirt that says Mishra was right.
Mishra did nothing wrong. Oh, that's provably untrue.
Mishra
It's
was
true.
absolutely wrong.
I mean, look, the Phyrexians are kind of cool. Saying.
No, they aren't.
No, look,
Oh,
no. I mean, yes, okay, I like their cards, but
I'm a black player. Look, I like Phyrexians.
One of the coolest characters, I think, though, is Teysa Karlov. Or, yeah. Teysa, right? That's the... No, Kaya, the Orzhov usurper.
Yeah, no, she's really cool.
I don't think her card is good, but the fact that she has these, two glowing daggers that are specifically, ghost-killing daggers, and
As,
going
the leader of
after the
Orzhov.
Ghost Council? Yeah. Maybe that's why she took over.
Well,
I mean, she's not a great planeswalker, but she's a really freaking cool looking card.
Yeah, she might have killed a bunch of dead ghosts.
but they just printed their stats in the Guildmaster's Guide to D&D. That was a task.
I gotta say, Guildmasters Guide to Ravnica is really cool. And I've been watching the Loading Ready Run campaign that's set in Ravnica, and that's really fun to watch. But it's very much not. I feel like it's at a
It just
time
went
before,
super out of date.
Yeah, it just kind of went out of date based on the current events.
Which is whatever.
It's
Ravnica... It's post Return to Ravnica before Guilds of Ravnica.
Yes.
It is a little weird that, like, every so often the story just advances in Magic in some place or another.
Like, a lot of people give Wizards crap for continuing to return to various planes, but, like, I personally dig it. I like that they are showing that time is moving on these planes. I like Innistrad.
You would.
Innistrad's the best. It really is.
Innistrad is just Castlevania plus more werewolves than Castlevania.
I love Castlevania.
I bet you
Isn't Castlevania just Ravenloft?
I was gonna say, I bet you also like Curse of Strahd.
No.
Oh,
the way around, but yes.
Oh. I like the Ravenloft.
I guess that's fair.
Setting,
I forgot about that.
But...
Ravenloft is post Castlevania.
Yeah. I like Ravenloft as a setting. I just don't want to follow any of the Ravenloft rules.
So you like gothic buildings and killing vampires?
Yes.
All right, just clarifying there.
I like killing vampires and werewolves and aligning with other good werewolves and
to be more
those
precise,
to exist.
So that nobody actually's us. The Ravenloft module I6 predates Castlevania. The Ravenloft setting came after Castlevania. So, you know.
Also, I think the cover of that book has some very, very strong Castlevania leanings, if I'm remembering correctly.
A little bit.
What a horrible night to have a curse.
But there are good Castlevania games.
I love that game. Leave me alone.
I'm curious what fantasy setting they we're still missing. Because I keep thinking that we're coming up on the edge, but they keep coming up with new stuff.
I mean, we are missing a good Chinese setting.
I mean,
missing a actually reusable Chinese setting.
Yeah, I mean,
not Portal Three Kingdoms.
Three Kingdoms was interesting, but no, I mean,
Three Kingdoms set in China and had nothing to do with the actual game of Magic, other than the rules on the cards.
I mean, we need basically the Chinese version of what Kaladesh did.
They just did that global series thing, but that was
horrible.
Sort of a questionable decision.
I mean, all of the cards that they included were basically underpowered versions of cards that already exist.
Yes.
I feel like we need a Discworld.
I mean, that would be pretty amazing.
For Magic?
I'm not sure how that would work, but that'd be pretty cool.
It's you mean
I'm guessing you mean not
lowercase
the book
d,
setting.
not uppercase D.
I mean, roughly based off of the kind of setting from that book.
I don't think that would work unless it were an unset.
We could get an unset like that, yes, but not a main set, I don't think.
I mean basically the Planeswalkers would... Yeah, I don't know. Things from the Dungeon Dimensions would have to play in really, really heavy. Because Planeswalkers start showing up on the disc and just everything goes to shit. That's
the thing. I think it would be kind of amusing to have the plane... you always have the Planeswalkers sort of acting oh yeah, we are seasoned, so and we kind of understand these worlds, but taking them to a really alien place, or I mean, maybe just a more science fiction, you are on more of an unknowable alien world.
Jason's
take him to Pern. Take him to a fantasy setting that's actually a science fiction setting.
I would.
I think that would be cool. That. Yeah, I think of Discworld, the book series, and I'm it wouldn't work at all. Because
I would also love to see them revisit sets from the past. So if you did a modern interpretation of Arabian Nights,
they need to make a new setting for that one because that setting is not usable by them.
Yeah,
I mean the Arabian Nights setting is just Arabia.
Yeah, I mean
a fictionalized version of Arabia. It's what they set the Arabian Nights thing in. And they don't actually own that, and they can't use it.
Who owns it?
I don't remember. Mark Rosewater was explaining it some time ago. It's a little interesting that whatever world Jace is from has not been explored yet.
Oh.
Whatever weird Magitech setting that is. I realize that there are a lot of Magitech settings in Magic already, so, it's not really adding much, but...
Yeah. Wizards should start doing collabs. Magic the Gathering X FF14.
Okay, I was gonna say, I thought he was from the plane of Ren, and then I was like, no, that's the name of the Sphinx that taught him. Apparently it's both.
All I remember is those big major rings showing up in one of the planes, or what's it called? What's plane shift? One of the plane shift sets.
Okay. At this point, we've gone way over.
Probably not that much.
I mean,
We started a little late.
but I guess it's true. We did start a little bit late. So, any final thoughts about anything that we've talked about tonight, which is like 2 topics out of the list of topics that now get bumped forward?
Not surprised.
Yeah, I know.
Anthem is... I look forward to Anthem. I'm really excited about Magic storytelling taking place in other things. I'm a little sad to hear that the new D&D book is already out of date and not, like...
It's still entirely coherent and usable.
Yeah.
Like,
I just know how that tends to go.
I'm curious what you mean by that, because I feel like this is a kind of book I'm almost more interested in, because there are less big important names mucking up the setting. It allows for the heroes of the adventure to be more centered.
Oh yeah. No. I totally agree. Like, I'm really excited about that book for exactly those reasons, because it lets you explore the setting without being that's what I'm looking for. It lets you explore the setting without it being like overshadowed by the major players.
It avoids the Forgotten Realms problem.
Yeah, exactly.
There are a lot of people who don't think that's a problem, and I mostly disagree with them.
That thing you just said, yes.
I mean, sometimes it's cool to have and interact with storied characters. You just have to have those
Yes.
stories be relevant to players.
I also feel like we're due for another appearance of the Phyrexians.
I mean, once Bolas is dead, who we got? Anyway.
Well, hopefully you enjoyed the show, and we will see you again next week. Good night!
Good night.
Good night.
See you.